This conference will now be recorded.
All right. Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining the Live Well Kingston Commission. Today is November 18th, 2020. My name is Emily Flynn. I'm the Director of Health and Wellness for the City of Kingston, and I'll be the organizer tonight. A few guidelines to follow. It's good practice to mute yourself if you're not speaking to avoid background noise and feedback. As organizer, I reserve the right to mute anyone. State your name clearly for our audio listeners. I don't see any call-ins, but if we get any, please do that. Both video and written transcriptions will be made available to the public on the city's website at a later date. As the organizer for today's meeting, I reserve the right to lock and pause the meeting to eject anyone who has behaved inappropriately. And tonight in attendance, we'll do a little round of introductions, and I don't see any other city staff. So I'm going to call this meeting to order at 4:04. That looks like it's the same time that I called it to order last month. That's convenient. So I stated who I am. How about we go around? Jerry, do you want to go next and then choose another person? You're on mute.
Sure, we'll go around. Thank you for telling me I was on mute. I'm Jerry Harrington. I'm with Health Alliance Hospital in the marketing department, and I will pass it on to Malia Dumont.
Thanks, Jerry. Good afternoon, everyone. Malia Dumont. I'm Vice President for Strategy and Policy at Bard College. And I'll hand it off to Douglas.
I'll go next. I'm Doug Coop. I'm the member of the Kingston Common Council, Chair of Finance. And that background noise is our parrot.
I'm going to pass it for you, Doug. Troy Ellen, how about yourself? Do you want to introduce yourself?
Okay, Troy Ellen Dixon, Marketing and Program Director at the A.J. Williams Myers African Roots Center, and also a member of the Kingston Emergency Food Collaborative. I will pass it to Stacy.
Hey guys, Stacy Kraft, Public Health Education Coordinator here with the Ulster County Department of Health and Mental Health.
Hey, Laurie, are you there? Would you like to introduce yourself? Hey, Laurie, can you hear me? Are you there? All right, why don't we do Melinda and then we'll try Laurie again. Hey, Melinda, are you there? Would you like to introduce yourself?
Sure, I'm Melinda Herzog. I'm the Healthy Communities Program Leader with Cornell Cooperative Extension of Ulster County.
Thanks, Melinda. Laurie, are you there now? Are you able to introduce yourself? I see that you're not muted. All right, if you're able to join us,
Okay.
Go on, we heard you. Laura, do you want to try again?
I'm not sure I'm doing this right, but I wasn't trying to say anything other than hello.
Oh, hello, thanks for saying hi. Laurie is another commissioner for Live Well Kingston. Thanks for joining us tonight, Laurie. Would you like to introduce yourself in any other way?
Just my name is Laurie Ferguson, and I have a great interest in nutrition and well-being.
Thank you so much. It's great to have you.
Yeah. Sorry about missing the other meetings. I've had major confusion with my days.
So don't we all? Thank you for coming tonight. It's lovely to have you when you're here. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, so thank you for that round of introductions. I put in the chat box a link to kind of my working agenda. I probably will end up sharing my screen a little bit tonight. But first up, let's see, do we have quorum? We've got Jared, Malia, Stacy, Troy Ellen, Lori, and Linda. We have quorum, yay. So first up, I have approval of minutes because I wanted to try to get that done with. This was stuff that we pushed on to this month from last month. The first one is the September meeting notes. Did anyone have any questions about the notes, or did, I'm hearing some squeaking. Is anyone else hearing that? Yeah?
Yes.
I think Laurie, it may be feedback through Laurie. Because
Okay, let me turn my headset off and see if I can do better.
Thanks, Lori. I do hear feedback, yeah. So the first one up is September meeting minutes. Did everyone get a chance to review September and October? I see a head nod. Would anyone like to make a motion to accept September's meeting notes?
So this is Jerry. I make a motion to accept September's meeting notes as written.
Do I hear?
On this one, right? Because I wasn't a commissioner yet.
right, and neither can I.
Right, and Troy Ellen as well. And as you'll recall, Emily, I had to step out of half of last month's meeting too, so I don't know if I should recuse myself from voting on last month's minutes since I was only there 50% of the time.
I can second that.
Are you seconding the October meeting notes, or are you seconding Malia's thought about abstaining?
Oh, I'm sorry. I was approving, the minutes, whatever needs to be done to get this off the table.
Thank you, Stacy.
And this is Jerry. I think that makes sense for Malia not to abstain from October as well.
That sounds great. So I'm gonna put Stacy down as a second for the September meeting notes. Malia and Troy Ellen will abstain, so I think that calls a vote. All commissioners in favor of approving September's meeting notes, say aye.
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 All against? And abstaining is Troy Ellen and Malia. Anyone else that like to abstain? Hearing none, the motion passes. Thank you so much. Okay, October meeting notes. Would anyone like to make a motion?
Can I do it again?
Sure.
I make a motion to accept the October meeting notes as presented.
I approve. I'll second it.
Great. I'm using Melinda as a second. So all, Malia said she would abstain, but all in favor, commissioners say aye.
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 Anyone opposed? Any other than Malia, anyone abstaining? All right. Hearing none, the motion passes. Thank you so much. That was some of our most efficient meeting note passage. So thank you so much. Okay, digging in, I'm going to jump right to administrative matters. So I want to bring up the 2021 commissioners. So commissioners, some of the old people who've been with me for a long time, I want to bring us back that when we set up our bylaws, we set up term limits. And so a few of our commissioners will be term limiting out on December 31st, December 30th, whatever the last day of December is. And unfortunately, that I think will be Jerry, Dr. Woodley, and let me see, I'm going to bring up my chart while we're talking. It might have also been one of our other commissioners that's already stepped off. So I think the two spots that I'm most worried about is Jerry and Dr. Woodley's chairs. So unfortunately, I think that, you know, they will have to step off for a little bit, and they can come back at another time if they'd like. I would like to maintain a connection with the Health Alliance of the Hudson Valley and with the Institute for Family Health. I have a couple of ideas of who we might want to invite. Of course, everyone from the public is always welcome to apply to be on the commission. But that's the topic that I wanted to bring up, was how to attract some more commissioners for next year, because I think that we'll see the loss of two active participants on the commission. Any thoughts around that before I suggest who I might be interested in having on the commission?
I have no.
Commissioners are term limited?
Yes, so in our bylaws, let's see, where was our rules of procedure. We have it that the term of office for voting members shall be 2 years, and each voting member shall serve no more than 2 consecutive terms.
Okay. Thank you.
Any questions around that, around the bylaws or around the structure? All right, so for the Institute for Family Health, I wanted to suggest Susanna Callahan. She has been very active in our Heal Well team. She is, I forget her title, but she's a grant writer for the Institute for Family Health, and she participates in a lot of different projects there. I think that she'd be a lovely member to the commission. The only downside I see is that I don't believe that she lives in the city. I think she lives in Rhinebeck, but I do feel that she's quite involved in Kingston. You know, I've run into her at events here. I think that would be all right. The other person who has expressed interest is from the Health Alliance of the Hudson Valley, and that is Freddie Garcia. He, Jerry, what is his title? Do you know? You're on mute, Jerry.
All right. Regional Director of Outreach, and I can look it up actually because he's in my email. And diversity or something like that. Hold on one second.
And thank you, Jerry.
Sure,
And
I'll
then,
give you the actual title. Regional Director for Diversity, Inclusion, and Community Engagement.
thank
Regional
you.
Director for Diversity, Inclusion, and Community Engagement.
And he has expressed interest in being on the commission. Unless, Jerry, do you have any suggestions of anyone else at the Health Alliance of the Hudson Valley that would be a good fit for us?
Not immediately, but I'll be happy to bring forward a couple of other names if you're interested. I hadn't thought about that yet, but I will think about it.
Laurie, I muted you because of feedback, but whenever you want to talk, just give me a wave and I'll unmute you. Any other thoughts about potential commissioners? You know, we've tried to connect with some of the other health organizations that don't necessarily have a brick and mortar site in the city of Kingston. We could try to reach out to them more, but there's, like, you know, health providers in the area. I would love to try to have some commissioners that are of Hispanic descent or speak Spanish or speak Quiche in our community. If anyone has a connection with anybody in our community that might be a good fit in that way, that would be wonderful. I'm also just interested in people who are active in our community. Any kind of community members would be really great.
Just for the record, Freddie Garcia does have a Hispanic background. I don't remember what country he's from, Honduras or something. I don't remember exactly. And I don't know if he was from the country or if his parents or grandparents were there, but he has that background.
I didn't know that. I'll have to ask him about that sometime. Malia, did you want to say something?
That we could certainly publicize the empty seats on Radio Kingston. As I mentioned to you yesterday, I went on one of the Spanish language programs this morning. They invited me on because they were very curious about Live Well Kingston, really interested in it. And one of the suggestions they had, they said, "What, you need a Spanish language version of the Live Well Kingston website." I said I would bring that back, but I think it would be pretty easy to spread the word and get some people from communities that we're not already connected to just by doing a little bit of a PSA outreach through them.
That would be great. Malia, why don't we talk, and if you can help that would be wonderful. All right. If there's not any other conversation, I'll try to keep connecting with people to be commissioners. If anyone has any suggestions or connects with anyone in the community, I'm happy to meet with people with a phone call or socially distance and meet in person to try to, I've met with a few people over the years to try to become commissioners, and it hasn't been a good fit, but I'm happy to do that with anyone else. All right. I don't see any other discussion.
I just thought of maybe rather than bring a name up, I'll ask the person if she's interested. But I just thought of somebody who might be a good fit from Health Alliance.
That would be great. All right.
I also know of someone who was. I also know of someone who was working for the Justice Center in Kingston and has some experience in food work and came here from Mexico a few years ago, so definitely speaks Spanish. I'll send you her name and her information.
Please, that would be great, Melinda. Thank you.
And Emily, another place maybe to look is I was just looking to see what kind of courses are offered in health and human services at SUNY Ulster, and they have a pretty broad array. And I don't know who teaches those or who oversees that program, but that might be a good place to look for some recommendations.
I love that idea. Thank you.
And I was just looking at my emails, and Steve Casa from Ulster BOCES is another person that comes to mind. He is the workplace learning coordinator.
Can you connect me with him?
Sure. I'll send you his email.
That would be great. The things that you're all bringing up are, I think, organizations and groups that we haven't connected with much in the past. So that's really great. I would love to grow our connections. Does anyone have any connections with the Boys and Girls Club of Kingston? I have not had a great connection with them. Oh, Laurie, do I need to unmute you?
I don't have a connection this minute, but this weekend I'm going to the Boys and Girls Clubs to help serve some holiday meals. So hopefully I'll reach out to some people and get some new connections.
That would be great, Laurie. Yeah, and I'm not, let's see, what would my message be? My message would be that, I would love to work more with the Boys and Girls Club. I think that other parts of the city support them, but I would love to support the Boys and Girls Club more. I think there's probably some support that I could provide them.
Okay.
Thank you, Laurie.
You're welcome.
Any other thoughts before we move on? All right. Thank you for that.
Yeah, I'll just ask Emily, have you ever reached out to the YMCA?
You know, I've worked closely with Heidi and Rashida and Susan and Katie on projects. I tend to think of all of them as that it would be a burden to ask them, but I could try. And
I'm just wondering if you had, and Heidi's name obviously came to mind, but, and you know her, so.
But
they're certainly interested in health and wellness for sure. Whether they want, I don't know.
And Heidi's quite active on our Play Well team. She's one of our most committed participants, even with her busy life. When there's been like pool failures, she's still made a point to come to our meetings. I just think of her as being so busy, but why don't I ask her? And if nothing else, I hope she'll see it as a compliment.
How about also for thinking of the YMCA, Casey Wimbish from the Farm Project?
And she would be a good crossover with our urban agriculture group, Play Well. She's definitely participates in that.
Okay, good.
I've asked the Grow Well members if anyone was interested in being a commissioner. I've already reached out to them once. I'm finding to have participants, I need to not just have kind of an open call, but you know, directly ask people to join. That seems to be the most, the best way to have people join. So I'll continue doing that. All right. I'm going to move us on to next on our agenda is reports. I've got 2 reports for you today. One is the Live Well Kingston Commission Action Plan, and within that is a bit of a communications report. So no focus teams this month, but more a review of commission goals and communications that we've done over the last year. It felt like a good time to do it. Most of the focus teams have come and presented, and it felt like a good month to kind of review what our goals were a little bit. So I'm going to share my screen. There's my screen. Let's see. Can you all see that? But now, oh, there we go.
But I can't read it.
Okay, I'll zoom in. Sorry for the messiness here. Hold on one second. Let me get, it's loading. Okay, and I'll zoom in. It's still probably very small, isn't it? Is it tolerable for now? I see some head nods. All right. I can also put the link in the chat while I'm talking about it.
And you also sent us these links in an email, I think it was yesterday, so we could pull those up separately too.
That sounds
great.
You
can also make it bigger, like individually. Each person can, if you look to the right on your screen where it says 75%, you can increase it and make it bigger.
My computer is moving slow. I think I tried to open up the link to share the document, and I think it's kind of in a holding pattern. So while my computer is thinking, I'll talk a little bit about what the goal of this action plan is. So this is an action plan for the commission. We try to have each focus team do its own action plan. And so I just want to clarify that this is kind of a list of goals and things that we've accomplished in the last year at the commission level. So it's less in the weeds, it's more general. And but I do include communications at this level since the communications support all of the focus teams. Okay, my computer seems to still be a little bit bit stuck here. Let's see if this wakes it up. No, it's not. Okay. Let's try reloading it. I believe there is a couple
Want me to
other.
try mine? I haven't called it up. I'm going to try mine.
I think I've got it up now. There's, I know at least one other public meeting that's happening at this time. It might be that the city's Wi-Fi is slow. All right, I think it's up. So I'm just gonna keep going forward. So our first goal for the commission is to oversee the focus teams. And now we have 6 of them: eat well, play well, travel well, heal well, and age well. And each, like I said, each one of them has come to the commission to kind of present their accomplishments. Now with 6 focus teams, next year we should be able to have them each come twice, unless we want to have a meeting or 2 to do this, which is review the commission. And last year on our December meeting before COVID, we had an in-person little holiday celebration and a Narcan training. I'll come up with an agenda of meetings for 2021 in January, and we can discuss that then. What hasn't happened yet is I haven't put the focus team reports or agendas on the website yet, so that's a next goal. Our second goal is to ensure information about health resources that are easily found and comprehensive. You know, the requests from last year for this year were to ask commissioners to send me any information. I had a goal of trying to spend 3 hours a week on communications. That definitely didn't happen during COVID. It happened sometimes on some other weeks, but definitely not in the middle of COVID. But we did do quite a bit of outreach. So I did table in person, but socially distanced at some senior complexes. A lot of my year has gone towards the Kingston Emergency Food Collaborative, which I think most of you have heard me talk about before, but I'm happy to go into more detail about that. Let's see, one of our goals was to try to create a robust resource directory on the website. We've done a little bit of that, but it's not what we had hoped for, which was like a really robust listing. This is a discussion point that we have in other places as well, and the hiccup is really keeping up with the information. I'm happy to dive into that more if people have questions, but that's really my update on it right now. Goals to do with the Kingston Emergency Food Collaborative. We're having discussions about trying to create a resource map, and that resource map would be presented in 3 ways: a printed flyer, an online digital map, and kind of a database resource for hotlines like the Family of Woodstock's hotline, Ulster County's hotline, and the Kingston Emergency Food Collaborative's hotline. The food resources would be where you can get food in the city of Kingston. So it would include all of the school district meal distribution sites, the food pantries, the People's Place grocery distributions, community action, all of the different locations and times and where you can get food in the city of Kingston. That's the goal of that project. I want to mention that we had a fall intern. She's been doing great, and she's been supporting our social media, which I'll talk to in a minute. Our third goal is to encourage active participants and community support. I really see this as trying to get the word out about Live Well Kingston. And that can lead into our communications report that I'll go into detail in just a moment. The next steps for that is to really develop more of a marketing plan. Most of the marketing has been kind of responsive, but not necessarily a thought out cohesive plan of marketing. And I'm going to continue doing outreach. Our fourth goal is advise the mayor and common council on pertinent health issues. I want to recognize that Doug has been joining us this year, and that's been really wonderful. We didn't have a liaison last year, so thanks to Doug for joining us for our many meetings. Rennie also did join us for one meeting. Live Well Kingston, which we'll talk about later on the agenda, did write a letter to the State Department of Health regarding the inpatient mental health services that were moved from the Health Alliance Kingston campus to Dutchess County. So I put this in this category because I feel that it's some of that informing of relative issues at a higher level. So before I get into the communications report, does anyone have any questions or feedback on the commission's goals?
Yeah, Emily, on goal 2, there's this over at the right-hand side, is creating a food resources map. So has that already been created, or that's the goal that we hope to accomplish over time, or it's started and hard to update?
Yeah, it's in progress. So there's quite a few resources, and then we've created a new, the intern supported this work and pulled some of our resources together and has created a new database. It's basically a Google spreadsheet of locations, times, and resources. And the next step is to identify, well, for the printed version, a graphic designer to make it look good. Our city staff GIS wizard has already created a map for us of Kingston and put some of these locations, and then we just need to make it look good. For the online web version, we sort of already have some versions of this as a Google map, so that takes a little more technology digging into to figure out how that's going to work.
The reason I asked is because Ulster County actually asked BARD to do something similar for the county. This was months ago. And they provided us a spreadsheet with the data, and we just plotted it, you know, GIS people. And I don't know where that's sitting now. They haven't asked us to update it or anything like that, but I think there are some parallel efforts going on at different levels of government, not surprising. I don't know what happened with it. They asked us to do it, we did it. It was kind of a one-time thing, but obviously it's more useful if it's updated on an ongoing basis and made available to people. We also did one for Dutchess County. So it's great we have a fall intern. I think there may be BARD students who would be interested in being interns in the spring, and happy to talk with you about how we might be able to get some people on board for that.
That's great to hear. And I wonder if there's overlap. So the Hudson Valley Food Coalition, I think is what it's called, just also identified a mapping project, and there's a bunch of emails going back and forth about that. I wonder if some of the people are also in that discussion. Why don't we connect via email about this, and we'll try to connect some of these dots.
This is Jerry. Excuse me. If this is Jerry, if I can just also add that I think it would be good if we made this available through, you know, for people to view on their phones as well, so that it becomes, I forgot the word for it. Basically, it gets adjusted so that it works properly for phone. And we might also want to find out from places that serve these people, such as food banks and you know, other shelters and places, you know, how best to get this information to people so that we not only have it, but we can make sure that it's in the right hands.
Absolutely. Yeah, we would want, I don't know that we'd want to spend time on a project if we didn't think that it might be a useful resource. So that's a great idea, Jerry. We'll connect with the organizations that are doing that direct work.
People's Place and things like that. I mean, I didn't think we weren't thinking about that, but I just, it's like people say about the new vaccines for COVID, you know, it's good to have them, but then the key is to get them to the people. So I was just, that was in my head.
Thank you.
Emily, what Jerry was referring to is adaptive design for that. And I think making it mobile friendly is an excellent idea, you know, device friendly. But I always have this issue with when things are put together that we spend a lot of time creating a printed version of it. And by the time it actually gets printed, it's woefully out of date. And I know that many people in the community do respond well to printed materials. But this is something that we would have to, I think we should look at it and see how many go out in the community actually, and what kind of response we get back, so that we're not saying every 3 months we're going to have to update this, or every 6 months we're going to have to update it. Obviously, putting it in a digital format means it can be updated in the background much more frequently and at less expense. My 2 cents.
It's also possible that we could make it available. We can ask the Daily Freeman if they would be interested in letting people know, if not using the map that we have, at least a listing. And they may want to put it in their newspaper once a week, once a month, something like that. And they would also update it.
I think that's a great idea. Other than just the names on the website, that's the only context I have at the Daily Freeman. If anyone has a closer connection to the Daily Freeman, send it my way.
Dwayne Cruz is the one I'm thinking of. He would probably be the one who would handle this. I believe Cruz is not like CREW. I think it's like KROOS or ESE or something like that. I forgot. And it's Dwayne. I'll get the name and I'll give you the spelling.
That would be fantastic. I love that idea. I would love to partner with the Daily Freeman on that. That would be great. Also, the new media resources. There's the Kingston Wire, which is a new information resource. And then just this week, I found a newsletter called Hey Kingston. Leah's shaking her head. Yeah, feels like there's new information every week.
Yeah, I just signed up for the Hey Kingston newsletter today. I saw somebody had posted about it in one of the Kingston groups that there's some suspicion that it may have been started by some developers who are trying to get more people to come here because they had some kind of hashtag that was like move to Kingston, and she objected to it on their Instagram post, and she was then blocked. So I find it really interesting. You go on their website. Sorry, this is my cat right here. You go on their website, there's no information about who these people are and who's supporting them and where this is coming from. So I'm going to be watching it very closely.
Yeah, I had a similar thing. I signed up for it and posted on Facebook and said, I wonder how long before I unsubscribe. But so we'll see.
Thank you for that. Yeah, I also was curious to know who was behind it. But to go, I think we've talked about the Kingston Wire before, but the Kingston Wire seems to be a great resource for information in Kingston right now, in addition to Hudson Valley One, which used to do the Kingston Times, and the Daily Freeman, and Radio Kingston. We're actually really lucky, I think, to have those different media organizations. So that would be a good segue to communications, unless anyone else has any other thoughts about our action plan here. Any key goals that we're missing that we should start to think about for next year?
I have a question. I'm working with a small screen here. So when you spoke about the mental health portion being moved to Dutchess County, I was also wondering about a program for children's services called MST, multi-systemic therapy. And that has to do with kind of keeping families and children together and children not going into the system. And I heard that from a very reliable source that they're closing that down for Ulster County, and they work from Kingston. Would that be in the area of that kind of mental health part?
Let's see. So where do I start? So I'm not familiar with the multiple systemic therapy. Steve.
Instead of a child going into a pins or being put on probation, they bring out the wholeness of a family for a troubled youth.
That's wonderful. I'm embarrassed to say that I don't know about this program. I don't know. Stacy, do you know, have you heard about this?
Sorry, I was just unmuting myself. No, I haven't heard of it, but I can ask our mental health team and find out if Ulster County Department of Mental Health knows some more about it.
Yeah, they call it MST.
Okay.
And they're under the child protective area. And they're closing it down for Ulster County at the last day of December.
Ooh.
Yeah.
So
Thanks for bringing that to our attention, Laurie. We'll look more into that. I could see that if we could.
It's called Liberty Resources.
Okay, I'll do a little digging on that. Maybe the commission will want to write a letter or do some kind of inquiry into how we can support those kinds of services, continuing. It sounds like the exact kind of resources that our community needs right now.
Yeah, for sure.
Emily, I have a question about how these action plans are created. And I don't mean to start a whole new long discussion, but just, is this something that, I don't know, like January of every year, like an action plan is put together with the goals for the year and then we update it throughout the year? Or I'm just curious about the strategic planning that goes into this.
Right. So I think in the past, what we've done is it has kind of come up early in the year, and I've done a similar kind of presentation where I've brought it to the commission with suggestions of what I think the commission might want to work on. And then I could do a better job of regularly updating it. When I was getting ready for this meeting tonight, I kind of was trying to scramble to remember what we had done this year. I think there's things that I have forgotten to put on here. It's not a robust development of this. It's more like, I think, what I've thrown together, and then I always ask for feedback from the commission.
Yeah, I think maybe we can devote some more time to it at a future meeting, because I think it's a great document. I'm looking at the Live Well Kingston website and how the mission is articulated. And I see some of the mission reflected in the action plan, but not all of it. And so just thinking about, I mean, if part of our mission is to facilitate policy, environmental, and systemic change for healthy and active communities, it's like there may be some things that we need to more deliberately articulate for ourselves, and not just overseeing the focus teams, but like trying to make sure that work is happening in very specific areas. Those are just my initial thoughts, and it might, I think it would be interesting and fun and productive to have kind of a strategic planning review of the action plan at one of our future commission meetings.
And would a commission meeting be good for that, or would anyone like me to call a separate meeting to work on that, and then we bring it back to the commission to present it? Sometimes
I defer to you on what you think would work best.
I find our recorded official commission meeting sometimes is a smaller group. It might be a good way to really get into some good conversation about it. I might propose that, unless anyone feels really strongly that it should be a part of this this conversation.
No, that sounds like it could be more productive if people want to do an ad hoc committee on it.
So should we have a motion saying that we're going to establish an ad hoc committee to more strategically develop the plans for 2021?
I
I'll
wouldn't
make-
think that,
Since it would, if Emily thinks that's appropriate, I'll make that motion since I'm the one that brought it up.
it's great. We'll make it official.
I'll second it. I think it's a great idea as a separate meeting.
Great. I'm gonna not attempt to try to take notes at this moment. I'll go back to the recording and make the notes. So all in favor of making an ad hoc committee, say aye.
Well, do we first need to have any, okay, maybe we don't need to, but there should be an opportunity for discussion before we vote.
Okay.
I feel like we had the discussion that, it makes sense to do it separately with the people who want to work on the policy language and incorporating that into here. We already have a robust, action plan for each group. Each focus team has their own, so we can just, work on ours and bring it back to the group with whatever the ad hoc committee decides.
Okay, that's fine. I just wanted to make sure that everybody who might want to say something has an opportunity, because not everybody did speak. But if nobody wants to speak further, then I'm fine with going to the vote. I just wanted to make sure that we follow that procedure and also give everybody an opportunity.
I was just pausing for a minute in
Okay,
case anybody.
opportunity's over.
All right, so I think we had a first, I think we had a second, so I'll call for a vote. So all in favor of making the ad hoc committee to look at the action plan?
Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Any abstentions? All right, motion passed. Thanks, I'll set up that meeting. I'm gonna put all of the commissioners on the invite, and whoever can, maybe I'll send out a doodle poll actually, and then whoever can come can come. But I just I'm warning you all. I'm putting you all on it, but you don't all have to come.
May I ask a question? Will commissioners only be allowed to participate? Because after next month, I'm gone.
No, Laurie, did you want to come in?
No, I just was a sigh of sadness.
Jerry, do you understand? I think she was a sigh of sadness that you were gone.
Well, thank you. But, as I think about it, I think that I don't know if it's better to have so-called an outside perspective like me, or if it should be the commissioners who decide what the commission is going to do.
I would be fine with other people if they were interested to come and join that conversation, but any other voices on that?
I would be comfortable including other people who have a vested interest. I don't see why not.
I concur.
I mean, the final vote and everything is still the commission, but, having it open for input is great.
Does that answer your question, Jerry?
So I guess you can keep me on the list.
I'm not letting you get away that fast. Great, I think that's a great plan. I really thank everyone for wanting to dig deeper into that. I think that that'll really structure some more work in the next year. I think that'll be really great.
Emily, before you move on, I was thinking in 3, the, encourage active participants and community support column, that each of us could have a more robust role in sharing social media. And I think we've talked about this before, but there's some new members. So I just want to put it out there again that if you could follow Live Well Kingston, and as you see things that resonate with your organization, retweet, reshare, whatever, that would be, you know, a really nice way of forwarding the communications and reaching more people. And Emily, if maybe you need all of us to share our handles for our organization so that you can tag us, it helps to pop up a notification on our accounts that then we'll be better able to respond to if we're tagged in it. If we, you know, get sidetracked about, you know, something, you know, so you could do that, that would be great. And we did that recently with the trauma informed campaign that was really, I think, well received in the community at a great time. So that's what's in it for other commissioners too. If you build that into the action plan, it helps to, you know, support their agencies. And I think that's a good buy-in for recruitment.
I think that's great. Thank you, Stacy. Well, why don't I jump into communications then, since we're kind of already heading that way. So as I was doing trying to pull together our action plan, or trying to remember what we had done this last year, I identified that we needed to kind of review some of our marketing, because part of our goal is to not only have our focus teams that work on, you know, systems and programming for our different focus teams, but then to also communicate for those focus teams and get the word out about different health initiatives, not just the work that our focus teams does, but what other, as Stacy alluded to, what other organizations do, and get the word out about the great resources that we have in our community. So as I mentioned, we had a fall intern. She's been doing some great stuff. I haven't been as focused on marketing as there's always more to do. And as coming from a marketing background, I always feel a little bit inadequate in this area, because I feel like I could always do better. But we have been plodding along, and we have over 1,000 followers on Facebook. We made 79 posts this year as of mid-November, so we still have half a month to add to that. Our most successful post reached 1,800 people, and that's this post to the right that was about the free bike repair. This was just posted in November. And I think part of the credit was the topic that made it very interesting, and also our intern here made this graphic for us. So I think that the takeaways there is pertinent information for our community, and then some nice visuals.
And Emily, whenever we've used the word free on something, that a commodity that people want, we've found the same thing. Like for the health department, our free rabies clinic gets a tremendous amount of likes and shares. So I think that free word helps.
That Troy Ellen might chime in the marketing community. If anytime you can put free in something, it's you unmuted. Troy Ellen, do you want to chime in?
I'm just agreeing with you, free, but I also think that there was additional interest because of the need for this in the community that was spurred by the over-policing.
Completely agree. And to speak to more of that program, so the free bells and lights was really the work of, I want to praise Tom Polk at the YMCA, Rose Quinn, and some of our other Bike Friendly Kingston members. They really advocated that. I mean, not to go too much into it, but some of you may know that there was a lot of police activity in Midtown over the, I don't know how many weeks or months it's been, but at first they were just pulling over people in cars, but at some point they started to pull over people on bicycles, and the excuse really was that they didn't have a bell or a light, which is technically the law, that a bicycle at night needs to have a red light on the back and a headlight on the front and a bell. So the community's response to that was to come up with free bells and lights, because as you all know, and you've heard me say before, many people, a bicycle is their primary form of transportation, and they may not have access to lights and bells. It does not come with bicycles when you buy one. So I agree, Troy Ellen, completely. I think that was an event that a lot of people felt passionate about. So, but to go back to most of our communications plan, our report here, most of our posts reach about 50 people, and they may get a like or two. So I think there's always work to be done there. In Instagram, we have over 1,000 followers. Our best post had about 32 likes this year. And as Stacy mentioned, we did a series about trauma and adverse child experiences. I think our series on trauma can be a template for future marketing plans. We really had, I think it was 5 or 6 posts. We planned them all out before. We planned out what tags we were going to use, and they were sequential. They the first post talked about what was childhood trauma. The second post talked about ACEs, and it kind of was a comprehensive series. So I think that might be a template that we can use for other topics from our other focus teams. Twitter is the social media channel that is not, I don't spend much time on Twitter, and I don't support it very much, if you can tell. So we don't have many followers. We tweet to it because as we tweet to the other media channels, I just kind of also tweet to that with we have a software called Buffer, where we put in our social media posts, and then it submits it to each social media channel. So Twitter's kind of doesn't get much love.
May I make a suggestion? We may not always have things to say on Twitter, but we could retweet what the Ulster County Department of Health and Mental Health has to say, what the Cornell Cooperative Extension has to say. There could be things that they are doing that we would want to share. Even Health Alliance may have something that you want to retweet. And those, Health Alliance would unlikely retweet something from Live Well Kingston, because we have a policy of what we do and what we don't. But Health Alliance would be thrilled if it worked the other way around. And I don't know how it is with the Ulster County Department of Health or Cornell Cooperative Extension, but there may be restrictions. Even Bard College might be doing something that is worth retweeting because it has a Kingston connection too.
Yeah, and I think the next steps forward there is for me to, or have an intern allocate time specifically for that work. It's not coming up naturally, so I think that I'll have to really plan and carve out time for that work. All right, the website, it still, I think, looks like a really beautiful website. I don't know how old it is now. Maybe Melinda or Stacy can talk to when the website was made, but I think it's over 5 years old now. I think it's still a very attractive one, but some of the technology is getting a little bit old. The plugins are getting a little bit out of date. And there's a few plugins that are subscription based, and the subscriptions, we haven't paid for the subscriptions to re-up. So there's a little bit of work there that needs to be done to kind of keep it up. Let's see, well, I did add under the focus teams, I added the commission itself as a drop down this year. My goal is to post and link to all of the commission's meeting notes. I struggle a little bit with this because we have our beautiful Live Well Kingston website. I also have to maintain a City of Kingston department website page. And then I make the agendas in a different software. So there's like multiple places where I'm kind of managing some of this information. It creates a lot of redundancy. So at one point I was trying to just put the agendas and such on the city's website, but I'm kind of thinking that there are people that identify Live Well Kingston as the brand and as the organization, and that information might need to be there as well. So that's been a goal, is to put some more of that technical information on the website.
Can you link? You can put a link on Live Well Kingston. It's not, are you saying that you don't want to send people to the City of Kingston website?
No, thank you for the clarification, but not to, I think the City of Kingston's website is not very user-friendly.
Oh, it isn't.
And I think that it would look, that's a good point, Trilyn, and I need to think a little bit about, like, maybe I could just link to the documents, not to the web page, if you understand my thought. So
No, that's what I was asking.
Yeah.
But I asked the clarifying question first of whether you didn't want to send people there. Because the easiest thing for you to do is if it resides on that website, is you just put date with a link that takes them straight to that document. It'd be simpler for you instead of having to upload it in various places.
I appreciate that, Trilyn. Thank you. So I'll work on that some more. The website gets around 350 visitors a month. In May, we had a real peak. I meant to dive into that and see what caused that peak in May. I didn't get a chance to do that. Our most visited pages are the posts, or those blog posts that a marketing company made in, and we're in 2020, so it must have been in 2018 to 2019 that we had paid a marketing company to do blog posts. And so our most visited pages are still some of that content that we worked on with that marketing company. In some ways, I think it's a good indication of the return on investment that we did back at that time. And in other ways, it makes me think that we need to invest a little bit more in creating some more content for our website. Most people find the website through a Google search, only 15% from a direct link, and really only 4% from social media. So that might be an indication that our social media posts are not driving people to our website, and we might want to, in a plan, actually plan out what our goal is in social media. Do we want to drive people to our website to find out more information, and to kind of actively work on developing that a little bit more?
I just want to mention, Emily, that in May, if you look at our COVID data dashboard that the county keeps up, we had, a tremendous amount of active COVID cases. And if you'll remember, a lot of people weren't working. So that could be why there was a peak in website trolling.
That could be.
And also, that's when they started announcing reopening plans too. So people might have been going.
Looking for resources.
Exactly. That's a good point. Very good point. I'd be willing to work with you on website, thinking about website and social media, Emily.
Oh, Troyland, I would love that.
And trying to figure out, do we need an intentional, drive to web strategy? Is that what we want to accomplish? I don't know the answer to that yet, but I'll work with you on it.
But I would just guess that it's not the
And
answer.
Emily,
Know that the website is something that you want to really focus your attention on.
I'm sorry, Stacy, can I just, you're saying that we might not want to focus our attention on it, or we might want to?
Well, I thought earlier you were saying that you're juggling 3 websites and you were kind of behind on that, and were feeling like, you had some work to do. And when you look at our website, it's clear that your last blog was from 2019 So I don't think we want to drive people there if it's not something that we're giving TLC.
Yeah.
And I was just going to add too, I don't know if you guys can hear me, can you?
You can't, I can, but you're a little broken up, but try.
Are you able to hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, let me move my position here. What I was going to say is you may want to reevaluate why we had a website. You do have the Kingston, the city website now. It's possible that what you're talking about with PDFs and driving people to PDFs might be smarter, because it is really hard to maintain it and it was a difficult platform.
I think that's worth considering. I don't know, maybe it's my bias as being a former website designer. It does feel valuable to me to have this website, but I think maybe we should have more of a discussion about that.
You can have a website without making it the place that you take people to for information, which I know sounds contrary to everything we learned about websites, 2 decades ago. But with social media, you can be much more adaptive in the market, in the community, in terms of updating with social media, both with original content and with curated content. And so that needs to be part of the discussion, as Melinda and Stacey have brought up. But if we say we want to drive to web strategy, that requires that we actually keep the website up to date and delivering information. That's why I said I don't know what where the conversation will land.
Yeah, I think we should have more discussion about it. I think this is good prompts of things to think about. And yeah, I think we should think a little more intentionally about it. I wanted to mention some radio appearances, and I want to add Malia's radio appearances too. So Malia, I'll email you for dates and time, or dates that you went on Lavos and the other show. I went on Christine Hines Community Corner. I did a PSA for the Women's Bike Fest. I did the Mayor's radio show, I think more than once, but at least that time. I went on Lavos once, and then the Kingston Community Radio, the other radio station, I also went on.
That was the best one. That was the best one. You were on with me, remember?
That was a good one. And
you want Healthy Ulster Radio too, or was that last year?
I don't remember, Stacey. I will look it up.
Okay.
It was definitely pre-COVID, but I don't remember. You're right. That might have been last year with Vin. I'm doing a presentation to the Kiwanis Club in December, virtual, of course. And then I started to do a list of all of the different other meetings that I attend. I consider that part of the networking that we do to get the word out about Live Well Kingston. So often in these meetings, you introduce yourself and you say what organization you're from. Sometimes you have an updates or an announcements section. I think there's more that I've gone to, but these are at least the ones in the last few months. We actually had some good press releases this year. I wrote 3 press releases, one about the new bike racks at the Kingston Plaza, another press release about the Chalk the Walk for Playwell, and then back in February for Black History Month, the dinner that I was helping a few other organizations. I was kind of a co-host or co-organizer too, and I had forgotten that I wrote a press release for that one as well. The Farm Hub did an excellent article about the Kingston Emergency Food Collaborative, and Live Well Kingston is mentioned in that article. And then here is a link to multiple media coverage of the Kingston Emergency Food Collaborative. Not all of it mentions Live Well Kingston specifically, but it's absolutely a lot of work that I've been, deeply involved in this year. So if anyone wants to dive in deeper, here's a link to all those articles. This is an article that I'm probably the most proud of. This was when we did the food distribution, when the school district had a COVID scare, and we did a pop-up food distribution. And so Tanya came around and I got my photo in the paper. And that's kind of my communications report. I think our next steps are going to be to meet with Troy Ellen and anyone else who's interested to try to dive in deeper on the website and social media and kind of working a little bit on a marketing plan. Any other feedback generally about communications?
You were very busy, and I'm proud of the outreach that you've done.
Thank you, Stacy. The outreach that I wasn't able to do, which I'd like to do next year when it happens again, is if the Department of Health goes to Yasmin Towers again. I know that Stacy was involved in that, and I wasn't able to because of childcare that day. So hopefully I'll get to do that another time. All right, so I'm going to bring us back to our agenda. We're moving right along. That's it for my reports, unless anyone has any last questions about that. I think the rest of our meeting should go fairly quickly unless we've got some new business.
Is this the time when maybe we should all stand up and stretch?
I think it's a great idea. While we're stretching, I'm going to mention that the meeting that Doug chaired last night, which was a finance committee meeting for City Hall, was a 3+ hour long meeting. And my husband was watching it with me and he's like, don't these people have to go to the bathroom sometimes? And we talked about needing to put breaks into our really long meetings. So I encourage you all to get up and stretch.
Stretch well.
Stretch well. I like it, Doug.
Stretch well.
I love it. You should put that on the agenda as our stretch well break. Perfect stuff.
Well, the thing that I've learned during these meetings is I actually do sort of, I'm sure they're not isometric, but I flex and I stretch and I flex and I stretch my arms, my fingers, my legs, because otherwise I would just, I'd never, at my age, if I sit down too long, I can't get up. It's basically what happens. It's like I get up and I'm in the shape of a chair,
Absolutely. And with all these Zoom meetings, Zoom fatigue is very real. And I spent a lot of time sitting and looking at a screen. So thank you as always, Stacy, for that reminder. And I will try to remember to put that in the agenda for next time. So next up, I just wanted to mention that the Inpatient Mental Health at Health Alliance got written thanks to Troy Ellen and some other people's support. I think that it was an excellent letter and it got sent to 3 different recipients. Do I have it open here? I do. So it was the governor and I believe the New York State Department of Health commissioner, and then the commissioner of mental, of mental health. And the mayor signed on to it as well. So it had 2 signatures. It was myself representing Live Well Kingston, and then the mayor. And we mailed those out a couple weeks ago. So I'm quite proud of that work.
The Common Council is putting together a memorializing resolution to this effect also, which will be acted on within a week or so.
That's fantastic to hear, Doug. Thank you.
Yeah. And Michelle Hirsch is the one who introduced it. She deserves the credit for making it happen.
Maybe I'll send her a note. Thanks.
The ninth ward.
Thank you, Doug. That's great. Unless there's anything else on that topic, we're up to new business. Does anyone have any new business they'd like to bring up? All right, next up will be announcements and communications. I just had two updates to give the commissioners, and then I'll open it up to anyone else who has any updates or announcements. I wanted to just keep the commission up to date. There's been some progress. There's a property at 78 Franklin, and my understanding of it is that the city has acquired it due to back taxes, and we're having a discussion about what the city or the community would like to do with that little piece. It's a very small parcel, and we're having a little bit of discussions about what we might want to do with that property. It's near the library, and it's on the block kind of just southwest of the library, and it's tiny. It's too small. It used to have a house on it that burnt down, and it's too small to build a new house onto it because of zoning. So there's a community group called Future Fruits, which is very interested in urban agriculture and edible landscapes, so mostly fruit trees. They would be interested in it being an edible or a green space, kind of a natural space. But I think that if the city were to go forward, we would need to do a robust community output and really hear from the community what they would be interested in that space. Community members did a little pop-up survey. They made these printout surveys and brought them around to different community members, already kind of asking what people might like to see there. Some of the residents said they'd like to see housing. Another resident said they didn't want to see a playground there. So I bring this up here because I think that I may be leading some of this project, and I just want to keep you all up to date that this is a potential project on the horizon. I've met with Lindsay, the Director of Parks and Rec, and she's supportive of it. And I've met with the land bank and kind of talked to them a little bit about the property. And my next steps are to reach out and form a steering committee. So I hope to have Rita Worthington, the ward member, the alder person for that area, and maybe some other community members. And so this is a upcoming project that may happen. And I'm getting my thoughts aren't cohesive this moment, so sorry that I'm a little jerky, but I want to bring it up because access to public space, access to parks, all fit within our Play Well umbrella. And I think that I have the capacity to try to move this project forward. And I think that's why I'll be leading it. Any questions on that? I know I wasn't quite cohesive there.
When you were talking about went around and surveyed people, were people given a choice or was it just open-ended?
It was pretty open-ended. It said, what do you want to see in this space? But then other prompts were, do you want a green space? Do you want a community space? Do you want an art space? If anyone's interested, I can send you what we sent out. But I shouldn't say we. It really was this community organization that sent it out. It was not the city. But I was aware of the work that was happening.
Okay, I would just be curious about it. And I know we do obviously need input from the community.
I'll send it to you, Troy.
Thanks, FYI.
Yeah. The other project I wanted to bring you up to date on is the Pedestrian and Bicycle Master Plan. Some of you may recall that my department and the Grants Department applied for funding from the State Department of Conservation, and we received $60,000 as a matching grant to do this planning document. It would be a document to really understand where pedestrians and bicyclists need to go through our city and really make a plan for supporting the future development, like along our green line, and how do you get people in and out and around the city by bike and by walking. My update is that because the grant required a match of $60,000, in post-COVID times, we didn't think that the Common Council would be willing to bond for that. So we've come up with an alternate plan, and that is to use more staff time and less of a consultant to create this plan. So we've identified what staff members can, what pieces different staff members can take up. For example, we have a person in engineering who is a GIS wizard who can help us with the mapping. Some of the other staff members in Parks and Rec may be able to help with some of the data collection. I am talking to Susan Hareth, who is an intern coordinator for SUNY New Paltz, about having 2 interns to help collect some of that data. So the goal is that all of the staff and volunteer time would be the match for the $60,000 that the DEC would be giving the city to hire a consultant for the rest of the work. So I think that's my update on that. Any questions about the potential park project or the pedestrian and bicycle master plan project? Okay, I feel like I've been talking a lot tonight. That's it for me. Any announcements or communications from anybody?
I just would like everybody to take a look at the Ulster County COVID data dashboard and be aware that we are experiencing an uptick in cases that's pretty consistent. And so we want you to re-energize your family and friends about why we're wearing masks and staying 6 feet apart and washing hands and being super careful about living room spread. So as the holiday comes about, we want to help people to make the right choice in limiting their gatherings to under 10 people. So that's basically it right now.
Thank you for that, Stacy. Anything else? Anyone else's organizations or other community things they'd like to bring up? All right, we must be getting close to 5:30. I think we're getting done. I want to mention that here on the screen is a list of upcoming focus team and other public meetings where the public is welcome. This is also on the Live Well Kingston website if anyone is interested. And that's where I think I'll end my screen share.
But you know, I just thought of one more thing, Emily. I'm sorry. I just looked at my calendar, and tomorrow is the Great American Smokeout. So if you could drive for your wellness programs, employee wellness, for your families to the New York State Smokers Quit Line has a free gum giveaway. And so they have quit coaches who are trained to help 24/7. And it's a great resource, 1-866 New York Quits. So please have people knowing about that, because even though, you know, there's not a lot of programs locally for cessation, there are some good online things. And we have been posting them on the Ulster County Department of Health social media site as well.
Thank you, Stacy.
Emily, what's the November 25th KEFC?
That is one of our Wednesday meetings. But you know what, I set it up on the website as a weekly event, and I can't just remove one.
Okay.
So maybe that one needs to come up.
Is that the 2 o'clock meeting?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I didn't realize that we invited everybody to it.
You know, so the way I worded it on the website is for people to join to reach out to me. So, you know, I think that you agree that, you know, we could always use more community members in that.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So I didn't direct them like straight to the Zoom link. They would, the drive was to reach out to me, and then I would kind of bring them in.
Right, okay, thank you for the clarification, I appreciate it.
Sure. All right. I think we're nearing the end. If someone wanted to make a motion to call the meeting to be adjourned, I could hear it now.
This
Make
is
a
Jerry.
motion to adjourn.
I'm sorry. Did someone want to do it? Doesn't have to be me. I'll let someone else do it.
This is Troy Owen Dixon. I make a motion to adjourn the meeting.
I'll second that.
Motion.
All
You gotta be
right.
fast. You gotta be fast.
Fast. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any objections? Any abstentions? Hearing none. I'm going to end this meeting, and I just want to say it's been lovely chatting with you all tonight. Thank you for a robust conversation. I really appreciate seeing you all your faces.
Good night.
Good night, everybody.